Sobriety can be such a rush, feeling like the positive changes are happening all over the place in your life. It's exciting and exhilarating, and just being sober feels amazing. But then things start to settle down. You know, you need to keep moving forward, keep growing, working on yourself, but you don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing. Before long, it feels like you're stuck in a rut, tires spinning, not going anywhere. This can be really uncomfortable for people who are in recovery, especially if it's the first time they've experienced it since they quit drinking. We've got a great group of people talking about all different kinds of stuck and what they're doing to deal with it.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Julie and Steve. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full there's no space left for alcohol.
In case you haven't heard, we are so much more than just a podcast. We are a full-blown recovery community these days, with meetings, a Facebook support group, a weekly newsletter, and so much more. If you're feeling stuck in your recovery, maybe it's time to try something new. Visit our website at throughtheglassrecovery.com and check out all the resources we have available to you.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. It's really nice to hang out with you guys tonight. So we have a couple of new faces spending their evening with us. And then we've also got Matt, our regular here. So we're going to do introductions. I'm going to let Matt go first since you've done this enough times to know how it goes and you can show everybody else how it's done.
I am Matt. I am 39 years old. I am from Burnt Hills, New York. I am a year and a half sober. I'm a divorced dad with 2 kids, and that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Good to hang out with you. All right. We're going to go with Katie next. Do you want to tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi, I'm Katie. I'm 28. I live in Southwest Michigan on Lake Michigan. I've been sober for 4 years on October 6th. So quit drinking pretty young, went pretty heavy pretty quick. But yeah, loving recovery life now.
Awesome.
Really, really cool. I always get so excited when we have somebody who's a little bit younger on because it seems like the majority of our guests fall in like the mid 30s to 50s range. And so many of us wish we would have quit drinking when we were 24. So I think
grateful.
Yeah, just amazing. It's super inspiring. And I'm really glad you're here putting your voice to it too. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And last but not least is Johanna.
Hi, I'm Johanna, and Katie, I'm so jealous of you. I will be 5 years sober in December, and yeah, I'm in my 50s. I fall in that, didn't stop drinking until I was 50 is when I was actually 49, but very close to 50 at that time. But yeah, I live in Metro Atlanta in Peachtree City, Georgia. And I'm married. My husband and I own a couple of businesses. One is Clear and Present Strangers. We actually help others explore their relationships with alcohol, and love that. We also have a real estate business that we are in together. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here. So
I love the Clear and Present Strangers. It's just
that's
great.
The greatest name.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Because strangers are the people that like basically help save my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that because strangers do so much or can do so much.
Well, I thought up the name, and Rich, you guys know my husband. I don't think he really liked it that much at first, but it was kind of playing off of exactly what you said, Steve. Just strangers helped me become clear and present in my life. And it's pretty amazing what community can do for you, especially when you're trying to stop something that you feel like you're ashamed of. And, I never would have ever realized that other people that I didn't know could help me do what I did. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve talks about that a lot. I think strangers have been for both of us, for most of us in recovery, strangers are the ones that show up and reach out a hand to pull us back up. So really cool. And yeah, so Johanna's husband is Rich, and he's actually been on the podcast a couple of times too.
Yep.
So it's really nice to meet you finally and spend some time getting to know you. Well, thanks
Yep.
for being here. Okay, so for our topic, just so you guys know, this is all Matt's fault. So we were hanging out with Matt last week talking about some stuff, and he's like, "Hey, so I'm kind of struggling with this thing," and we're like, "Cool, come be on the podcast." So that's how we came up with this topic, and that's why Matt is here to hang out with us too. So it is really common for people to get to a point where they feel stuck in their recovery. Our main focus is to create forward momentum in our lives, moving further and further away from the activities, the mindset, and the behaviors that held us in our disordered use of alcohol. It's pretty easy at first to create that momentum and keep it going, but after a while, sometimes it seems like it's hard to know which direction to turn or what next steps we need to take to keep our recovery progressing. So our questions today are: when was a time that you felt stuck or stagnant? What did that look like in your life? How did you end up dealing with it? And if you are currently in a place where you're feeling stuck, let's talk about that too. We're not always just here to be the experts. Sometimes it's awesome to talk about what we're going through in the moment. I think we learn a lot that way too. So anybody is welcome to jump in and start, and then we'll just take off from there.
I'll just say when I saw the topic, it was like, oh, this is triggering because, yep, I'm going through some things right now. It was like, this is kind of perfect. So yeah.
Awesome. Love hearing that.
Go for it. Go for it. Share.
Yeah, tell
What's
us.
going
So
on?
yeah, I'm feeling stagnant just in a sense of where I'm at in life. The first couple of years, it was like go, 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 so much change, so much that forward momentum, and now it's like I got laid off at the beginning of the year. And then it's like you're starting a new job that's not a career that you want to be in. And it's just like, okay, now what? I've not felt any feelings towards wanting to drink, thank gosh. I think I'm past that, but it's like just at a very stagnant place of now what, you know? Yeah. I don't know where more to go with that other than,
How
yeah.
does it feel?
It feels like I'm just not making any progress right now. Like the progress is stopped, but it's like, how much more can you grow? Obviously a lot, but it's like those first couple years, it was change every single day. And now it's just like, okay, we're almost 4 years in, like what's new? Maybe not the right things, but I'm still pushing forward momentum, just not sure in which direction that's going.
So we had a podcast with our friend Karina, and she shared a quote with us that it must have been almost 2 years ago that she shared this with us, and it has stuck with me forever. And that I want to say it's maybe a Buddhist quote. Anyway, it's the before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. And there are times where I'm like, you change, everything inside of us changes, but then we're still just doing the day-to-day stuff. And I think sometimes it's frustrating. And that quote actually brought me a lot of peace because it gave me a minute to breathe and be like, okay, maybe I don't have to be plowing forward, making all these massive changes. Maybe it's okay to just be okay with where I'm at right now. And sometimes, of course, we need to grow and we need to move through stagnant, but sometimes it's okay to just be where you're at and do what you're doing. And I don't know, that's what
I
came to
love
mind
that.
when I heard you say that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I definitely feel that, you don't always have to, be go, go, go or progress. You can be happy with where you're at and enjoy where you're at right now.
I think that comes in waves too, though, doesn't it?
Oh,
Like
it so does.
there's the waves where I mean, even if everything's the same, you get to this point where you feel like you need to grow, but you can't put words to it really. Like you just kind of feel this internal pressure. This is from my own experience. Like I feel like this internal pressure, like something needs to be done, or I need to do something, or I need to stand up for this. I have to do something.
Yeah.
And then I can either not do anything and that wave ends up washing over me, then it comes back every time, or I can do something about it and then the next wave that comes shows up differently.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it too. Because the waves are gonna keep coming. It's not
Re
stopping.
Regardless of what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just going to look different.
Right.
Different storm.
Yeah.
Katie, when you were saying that, it's so funny. And Julie, you everything that you said was exactly what I was thinking in my head, because Katie, where you are right now was kind of where I was at the beginning, maybe towards the end of last year. And it was just, going all the time, just I mean, always pursuing something new and more and, a better goal, this, that, and the other, just being pulled in a million different directions. And I've really, over the last few months, I really realized that sometimes this is exactly where you need to be. Julie, you said that. And I was doing, what Steve was saying, you feel that wash over you, like you feel the guilt because you should be doing more and more and more. But then I just started thinking about it. I'm like, why am I trying to force myself to do these things? It doesn't feel good right now. And I have a certification in gray area drinking, and what we do, we focus a lot on nervous system regulation. And I'm fighting my own nervous system. I'm like not doing what I tell other people to do. And so I just kind of sat back and I was like, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And once I stopped fighting it, all of that stress went away and all of that guilt went away. And what's happened, it seems like more things that I want to come into my life are coming that way now. And it's not because I planned it, because let's be honest, I love a plan and I love a to-do list and a plan and all the things, because it makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. But sometimes we just need to just be okay sitting still. And I think back on my life as a drinker, and it was chaos all the time, right? All the time. And now, I'm almost 5 years without drinks, and you've got to learn to be okay without the chaos. Yeah, I didn't look like I was a mess or on fire. I went to work and did my thing and I was very successful at it. But on the inside, oh my gosh, I was a train wreck. And, I think you get used to being in chaos all the time, so that when your life is calm, that it feels weird. It doesn't, and it feels uncomfortable, honestly, because, and I was doing that, but now I'm just like, let's just let things be. And other things that I want to come my way are coming my way. And I know that might sound cliche, but it's true, at least for me right now.
And I don't think you're wrong though. I think I'm at the point now, I'm 3.5 years sober. And I'm at the point now where I'm just starting to learn and see that as long as I continue to show up, it's all I have to do is show up. Go and do the thing, show up. Go and do the thing, show up. Other things start happening completely out of my control. If I show up and I put myself in an environment that is authentic to me, things just happen. It's weird. It's absolutely weird because it's completely out of my control. But it's like that's where about I am right now. Is what does showing up just look like? And watch the reflection of that energy come back to me and see what happens.
And that's just proof of being where you need to be, exactly where you need to be.
I think in my experience, yeah, Katie, you're spot on. I think that, you know, if I'm forcing myself to grow in some way because I'm like, oh my, you especially for me, like the beginning of sobriety, I was plowing through books and plowing through growth and changing my behaviors and, standing up for myself. And I quit people pleasing and I was trying to drop the perfectionism. I was like making massive changes in the way that I lived my life. And it was awesome. And it was really motivating to keep doing it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, what else is there? And there was not really anything. And so then I'm like, I'm going to start reading all the books and I'm going to find more shit to change. Damn it.
You start a
And
podcast. No, sorry.
Shut up.
It didn't happen. I just thought it was funny.
No, but I think I was desperately looking for the next thing that I was going to change, the next way I was going to grow. And I think when we're forcing ourselves to look for that thing, that maybe we're missing the chance for our life to actually push us in the direction we need to go, right? If I just sat back for a little bit and stopped desperately grasping at new ideas and new things to try to apply to me, and I just lived like Steve was talking about, live authentically, live with intention, go about every day as aligned with, your purpose and as aligned with yourself as you can. And eventually life is going to be like, here you go. Here's your next thing. Here's the next way you're going to grow. And it's actually going to apply and fit and be necessary and useful instead of just grasping at whatever, idea this book or that podcast suggested to me that might be a direction I could chase blindly. Anyway. Matt, I want to hear what you have to say. You look like you're about to talk.
Let's hand this over to Matt.
So I agree with what everyone is saying, but I'm going to put a big but in this.
Excellent.
I'll get to that in a second though. So first thing, Friday when, I read the email about this, I was thinking to myself, if you told me 18 months ago, so before I got sober, right, that I would be a year and a half sober, but stuck in my recovery, I would have signed up for it in a second, right? Because that would have meant that I'm in a better spot than where I was, deep into my drinking and how my life was when, I was actively drinking and just the chaos and just all the bad stuff that it was. Now sitting here today, I'm not going to say it's as bad as it was then, but I'm in a spot where I can't just let things, flow, be what they're going to be. Like the more I thought about this when we kind of hashed some stuff out on Monday, I'm emotionally stuck in my sobriety. And what I mean by that is really where it is right now is I don't have a space where I'll say it'd be emotionally free. I mean, maybe that's the best way to put it. What does that come down to? I can't cry, right? I can't let it out. So I'll share this story. Last Sunday, one of my best friends, father passed away during COVID. They're having this ceremony thing at his church, and he told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and put myself in the situation to hopefully force myself to get over this whatever it is with where I'm stuck with my emotions." And the best way to describe this is I get to a point where I'm about to cry and it's just pulled out of me. It's almost like the wind gets knocked out of you. It just sucks it out. And a few seconds later, I'm completely fine. There is no emotion left. I use the comparison to the water gets to the top of the dam but does not crest over. But because of this, and I don't know, I haven't been able to put everything all together, obviously, but it's affecting so many other things. And like I said, I don't know specifically what it is, but it's I feel like I have this weight. Don't know what the weight is, but it's there and I can't get rid of it.
You're carrying a bag of emotion and you're just trying to you get that close to that release. Right. Crying feels actually really good too, and there is a huge emotional release and you just can't let it overflow.
Right. I've had 3 moments, specifically my 1 year anniversary, Like I was to the point, like I started crying and all this stuff, and boom, was interrupted. And then, like I said, it was gone. Like that quick. Like you snap your fingers, it was emotionally gone. And haven't been able to get that back. Um, I had to put a cat down in April, same thing. And then just this past week at my friend's church. And I feel like I'm being robbed of being able to fully experience things, right? Um, and I guess the thing that's killing me is like I explain this to people, and they're like, "Oh, it's great. You're so aware of your emotions. That's that's such a positive thing." And it's like, yeah, it's great, but like I'm aware of it, but I can't do anything with it. And um, it's a difficult thing, I think, for people to be able to relate to unless you've been there. I mean, I'm watching right now. I'm watching This Is Us, right? Got it,
Mm-hmm.
right. So emotionally charged show,
Yeah.
right? Emotionally
Which
charged.
made me cry. Absolutely.
And the father's an alcoholic. Like there's all these things, and it's like I get there, gone, get there, gone, get there, gone. And like I'm trying to force myself to get over this hump, and I haven't been able to. I actually spoke with my therapist Thursday about this, and she's like, "You need to take some time off, sit by yourself, and just roll with it." Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that for a few more weeks, but that's why I'm saying everything that everybody was saying was great, but there are certain things we hit that unfortunately are not just roll with it and let it go.
Yeah.
What have you
Shit.
tried? Okay, so you've talked about like you went to the memorial service. You
Right.
talked, and then you're watching This Is Us, which I mean, that's like I didn't even finish watching it because I cried too much. It was annoying me. Um, but okay, so have you journaled or have you sat with someone else and actually
So
talked about the really hard stuff? I'm curious.
now you're gonna hit a couple different points there. Journaling, not so much, and I just am not a journaler, which I wish I was, because like I wrote a ton today about this stuff, like really kind of laying it out there. But even doing that, it's it's like emotionless. It's I don't know. It's the hardest thing for me to explain like certain parts of it. Like when I go to like my counselor, my therapist, like we talk about things, and there's like I mean I'll get to this point, and either will like when it's like really emotionally charged, my body does it all on its own and
Mhm.
shuts it down. But there's also other parts where, other times I should say, where I'm talking about it, and I'll catch myself, and I can just pause, take a second, and then just recompose myself. Now, it's not wiping the emotion like completely gone, but it's not allowing myself to even get to that point, you know. I don't want to say emotionally breaking, but that's almost what I feel like it's going to be. But kind of going to what you said though, like speaking to like about it with people, another situation kind of where I'm at is like I feel like I don't have a person in my life that's I'm able to do that with, right? That I can speak openly with, at the same time will understand's not the right word, will listen and not question everything of why, and just let the situation be.
That's like
Um,
a support.
That's like how we
right.
define emotional support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I find that so often people, like I said, they're like, "Oh, it's so great you're feeling this," or I mean, I don't even touch all this stuff in AA, but they're like, "Oh, do you talk to your sponsor? Do you pray?" I'm not looking for advice. And,
Yeah.
like I don't think this is a situation where necessarily advice. Someone's going to tell me like, "Do this," and it's going to make everything better. I know it's me. I know it has to be me to an extent. But I feel like people just are always too eager to
Give a solution.
yes, then just listen. And that's
Generally
really right. What
speaking, most of us are trying to be fixers, right? Like that's like a natural response, I think, and that's almost like a natural human response. Matt got up. Now he's gonna go cry and be like, I did it.
That's what I was thinking.
Matt is back
Oh
and in
no,
fact not crying.
I would absolutely let it flow here.
Yeah, I'm just you got up and I was like, I gotta take this one. You just handed it to me.
And then we fixed him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, the whole fixing thing, that's something that, so Steve and I just took a course not too long ago in motivational interviewing, and that's one of the things that they talk about is like the fixing reflex. We all want to fix it when someone else doesn't feel good. And I think all of us would do well to realize most people don't need it fixed. They just need an ear. They need empathy or compassion, right? And nobody outside of the those that are trying to grow in emotional intelligence even understand that concept. But it's really frustrating when that's all you get, because it's like hitting a brick wall when you try to share how you're feeling with someone and they just throw a solution at you. It's like, well, just stop the feelings, stop them, Yeah.
So,
But it's going to be interesting though, because like my parents are going on vacation in a few weeks, and like I have some time that I'm scheduling off from work, like planning this thing. Like I don't know how long it's going to take, but like
there might be a part in there where Johanna said this earlier, where the magic might happen when you actually stop fighting.
Mm-hmm.
There's something
Right.
in there where like that stuck feeling too, but learning how to actually let go of my emotions or my attachment to them is when the magic actually happens. I almost like identify with it first. And then when I'm finished identifying with it, like this isn't me anymore, then I get to experience what I'm actually looking for. Now I'm not trying to fix it for you. But that that there's no like switch there. And there's no switch to like getting unstuck in recovery. I was just talking to a friend and he was talking about he's stuck between decisions he made in his past and where he wants to go in the future. Like there's this middle ground, like it's a middle purgatory in recovery, like year 2, somewhere in there, where you start finding, and this is for me, I start finding chunks of my authentic self, start really like believing in parts of me that 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 are true to me, and I want to start following that, and that demands change, and that demands me stand up for myself, and that demands, so like I'm starting to pull all of these tools out of my pocket to like start dealing with the change in my life, but the result of it doesn't come right away like what I was used to. So the feeling of stuck or stagnant is almost like, so far for me, has been like a pause. It's the pause in life, the prep for all of those little things to start adding up. Because every time I go to bed and I wake up, I seemed to have added another little bit, another pathway, and whatever it is. And sometimes that stuck feeling is you just getting ready for the next thing that you're gonna encounter.
It's also worth pointing out, Matt, you're like, okay, so in a couple weeks my parents are going to be gone, like I'm going to have time to sit down, you're going to try something. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Like I really hope that you find what you need there, but at least you're doing something. And that alone takes courage, right? I think for a lot of us, when we get to a place where we're stuck, it's like we don't know what's going to work, but we know we have to take some kind of action or we're going to go crazy and we're going to stay. I think when you're truly stuck and you're not in that place of peace or in that place of trusting and faith, then at least just pick an action. Just do something. It doesn't really even matter what it is, but do the thing. And if it doesn't take you where you need to go, maybe it'll give you a couple of clues to which direction you need to start walking next. And I think that's been true for me too, because there's been a few times that I've been stuck. I was actually I was journaling a couple hours ago, and I'm looking at it right here because it's on the same page that I'm taking notes on right now. But it says, why do I feel so uninspired? Right? I don't really know the answer to that question, but I have a list of things that I can try to see if something sparks something. And then maybe I'll know the next step to take. I think sometimes we want to know exactly where it is we're supposed to head, and maybe we just need to know what the next step is. We don't need to have the end picture in our head yet.
Got anything, Katie?
I was kind of going somewhere with that in my head, but I
Go
don't
with
know if
it.
I can. I don't know if I
Rather-
can bring it all to words, but no, I feel that even these moments of like feeling stagnant or stuck, we might feel that way, but if we're thinking of the next move or the next thing we need to do, are we actually stuck or stagnant? If we're still, trying to think of the next thing, I don't think we're actually stuck if we're still thinking, towards the future.
Good call. Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
I think she pretty much like nailed that one.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say
Thanks.
that's
I
a
brought
very
it to words. Yay.
You
good
brought
for
it to
you. I
words.
love it. Yeah, maybe we just need to redefine what stuck or stagnant what is, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
If you have no thoughts of moving forward or, continuing, then maybe you're stuck. But if you're still pushing through, you aren't stuck.
Yeah. It's a great point. I love that. What about you, Johanna? Do you have something else you look like you're about to say something.
No, I was just listening, but I was just when you said you'd been stuck a few times, and what I'd shared earlier was kind of where I am right now, like how I kind of felt like I was stuck, and then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just need to not worry about it for a little bit, give myself a break, you know. But I was kind of thinking back to another time that I did get stuck, and I think it was probably about a year and a half into my sobriety. And Matt, I'm not sure what your circumstances are, and if there is a reason that you feel like you need to cry, but I got stuck, and it was kind of the opposite. I was having a lot of anger and directed at a family member, and I just, not my husband, but another family member. And I didn't really realize what was going on with me. I could not figure out why. Why am I being so passive aggressive and so nasty to this person? And because I didn't want to be. I had no way. I could not figure out what was wrong with me in that. And I was out another day after, I'd had this person there. It was my dad. I'll just say it. I had my dad over to our house for dinner, and I would just be so not nice to him, and we moved to be close to him because he's got some health issues. And then, I would just be mean to him. I was so excited about, oh, we'll get to have dinner together and spend more time together. And then it just wasn't working out the right way. And then I realized I was listening to a book, Brene Brown, and she was talking about trauma, when you experience or relive trauma, and how it takes you back to the way that you felt when it actually occurred. And I realized moving back to my hometown stirred up a whole bunch of things inside me that I didn't know were there. And when I heard her saying that, I realized, I'm like, that's what's going on with me. And I got home and got out of the car, and I could not stop crying. And I just realized that I'm in a situation now that hurts really bad, and I don't know how to get out of this. And I promise you, I went through all of my sobriety to that year and a half. It was a breeze. I'm like, this is easy. Nothing to see here, just cruising through it. And then next thing you know, wham, I moved back to my hometown, and it was like, oh gosh, wow. So I don't know if any of that is anything that you're going through right now, Matt, but that was kind of about the same time that happened to me. And it was a little bit of a journey, and it was a lot. It was a lot. But I learned so much about myself, and there's a lot of healing and a lot of peace on the other side of that. So I don't know, I was stuck there for a little while, but
I think one thing you bring up there though about that I can directly relate to though is You said you're taking it out on your father now. For me, it's not anger, but like I'm very short, very, I snap very quickly with my kids a lot right now. And like even with my parents, like it's always the people like the closest ones to us that end up taking, you know,
The
the
brunt of it.
yes, right, of where we're at with things. So it's kind of interesting with that, going through that and how you said that part because that's how this spills over into other things though for me. Like I'm seeing how this weight I can't get rid of is affecting other things, and it just there's moments where it just feels like it compounds like exponentially. Not all the time, it comes and goes, but it sits there and that's what I'm saying. That just being aware of it is probably just as frustrating for me as not getting the water flowing over the dam at this point because I see how it's affecting so many other things as well, and it's not fair for other people that have to suffer because of that, um, especially like the people that you love because I feel like all of them I've made suffer so much already on the other side of this. So yeah.
I'm gonna change course maybe a little bit. How about a different version of stuck? There's the emotional stuck. I can relate to that one too. And then there's this probably can tie into because everything can tie into emotions, but being stuck, not making a decision that you need to make, or having a conversation that you need to have, and by avoiding it, it keeps me in the same place. When I was drunk, I hated my job. When I was sober, I was like, okay, I'll give this thing a chance. And maybe it was just like a drunk Steve problem. And I was 8 months sober. Julie's going through the book Rewired and talking about evolution, and I was going through it with her. Not as intentionally as she was, but I was still going through it with her. And we came to this chunk that was called evolution. I avoided it like the play because it pointed out the fact that where I was in my career was not where I wanted to be, and I was terrified of it. So by not making the decision, I kept myself in that same career. I basically became a quiet quitter during the pandemic and all that sort of stuff because I did not put effort into it anymore. I was so aware of the fact that I didn't like it that I put in a very minimal amount of effort. And so like that hurt everyone around me until, and this is Katie when I was talking about like it comes and goes and washes away and then it comes back. This one came back like every 4 months. Ask Julie. And it came back like every 4 months, 3 to 4 times a year. I would come up and smack this wall. And every time I ran into that wall harder and faster, and it hurt more and more every time I decided to not make the decision to face the fear. I remained stuck in that career until last July when I found the courage to say, I can't do this anymore. And since then, it's opened up a whole new world of things, but lots of change, a lot of things. I walked away from a career that still to this day, I would be very comfortable living life, and life's a lot different now. But so yeah, stuck. Can any of you guys relate to this one? Stuck making a decision or facing something that you don't want to face because you know it's going to be difficult.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was taking notes or writing down some thoughts, and I'm not nearly as thorough as Matt is when it comes to making notes for a podcast recording, but I wrote down a few thoughts. There's 3 different versions of stuck that I've experienced in my life since I got sober. So the first one is like the calm, like life is just life, and it's okay for life to just be life. You know, the carrying wood and water thing. But Then there's the I honestly don't know what I need to do right now. Have no idea, but I feel stuck and it's really uncomfortable and I know everything's not okay and I need to do something. And then the third one is like some version of self-sabotage, which is not making a decision that needs to be made, being afraid and not having the courage to do the thing that I need to do, or there's so many different versions of self-sabotage, but those are the things that hold me back from actually doing the growing that I need to do. And those ones, it's just about being honest with myself. Once I'm real with myself, I'm like, okay, this is the thing that really needs to happen here. This is what you're doing to get in your own way. Now, what are you going to do about it? And then I can start moving forward. But I think the decision thing falls there, where you need to make a decision. You know what the decision is. It's just a matter of finding the courage to face the fear, to do the thing you need to do. And that is enough to keep me stuck for a really long time, for sure.
Do any of you have any stories about avoiding the hard decision?
I almost married somebody because I was too chicken to call it off. And he found out he was cheating on me. And I was like, there's my out.
Oh.
I'm not joking though. Like, how bad is that? Like,
Right?
almost married someone that I knew I didn't want to marry. Thank goodness I didn't.
No doubt.
Yeah. I'm glad he gave you an out.
Yeah. Self-abandonment there at its core.
Oh yeah. That was me. My first marriage. That's when I was saying I do in my head, I was like, what the hell am I doing right now? Yeah.
I was like that. And I wonder how many people could actually say they were like that. Because when you just said that, the fact that somebody else said that out loud, because I felt that. Like, I wonder if you did a poll, like what percentage could say the same?
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot.
We'll run an unofficial poll on our Facebook page and we'll see what people say. We'll let you know. Yeah. No, the self-abandonment is a huge piece of that self-sabotage too. That's one of those things that, it keeps you comfortable. It's not comfortable, but that comfort zone thing.
Podcast topic. So
what, self-sabotage?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it.
I already wrote it down.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many things that I could say that I just don't quite have the balls to say on a podcast right now. Which is saying a lot because I say a lot of things on this podcast. But yeah, no, I think this is all really valid stuff. So much of being stuck, and not all of it, but at least for me, so much of being stuck is about finding the courage to do whatever it is that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about this like early on in recovery, like the first few weeks, like months, like everything I feel like was like that, right? You didn't know if you were going to self-sabotage yourself, at least for me, because putting days together at home was not a thing that I did. So like every decision was like this critical decision that was like you would have thought it was, I don't know, like, I was gonna hit the button for the nukes or something like that. Like it was so hard. I mean, I kid you not, it took me over a month to figure out which YMCA I was gonna join, because I thought like if I join the wrong one, like everything's gonna go to hell. That's how bad like that's like, yeah. But I have one other thing that I was thinking about with this as well, and as I talk to other people, it's a lot of them are like, oh, I came off the pink cloud, and like that's when their recovery changes. 3-4 month period. For me, I was on the pink cloud the first time I went to rehab. I've never experienced that feeling again, which is fine. But when I was like 3 to 4 months sober, I felt very stuck because, and maybe you guys can relate to this, like when we're first sober, we're like, yeah, we're changing, we're like this great person now, and who cares what I've done for the last 5, 6, whatever, how many years it's been. It's like, look at me now, look at what I've done. It's in this short period. But for me, I was so stuck and so concerned with what everybody had seen, heard, talked about me, like all of those things of what happened when I was drinking. And like I said, it took a few weeks to get through that, but that was probably like the first time when, getting sober, I felt the momentum slow. So maybe it
Mm,
wasn't stuck really per se, but it was a difficult thing to. I know at the time I said I was stuck, but now kind of looking back, maybe it wasn't really stuck with things.
It's all
Um,
relative to flow, right? I'm I'm
right.
I'm hearing you talk, and the version of stuck when you're plowing through things and growing and learning all of the things and applying your tools. Part of it's, I mean, for me at the beginning, after I got over like the first 4 months and started venturing out into the world and using tools and doing things and hanging out with people and figuring stuff out, like it started getting fun.
mm,
It wasn't so as fearful anymore, but it started getting fun. So then I started, that's when getting unstuck got a little bit easier because it was
Right. Well,
less about fear and more about the experience.
what I came to realize through that was I was starting to be comfortable with myself,
Mhm.
where I was opening up a little bit of. I would tell people I didn't drink. I didn't tell reasons why of things, but just the small little hints of of that, you know. Um, but yeah, like I said, it was like, oh my God, the hardest thing I went through in early recovery. To see, now looking at it now, it like you said, it's a little blurb there, but um, it shifted the perspective of where, like I said, I could. I by no means was going out there and telling everybody everything that had happened to me, but was okay with at least part of it and sharing it from my view. It was my story now, not what everybody else had said it was.
mm, mhm.
I think that was a big hurdle that, like I said, like if people say I thought about getting off the pink cloud, and they're like, oh, where am I? And it's that point where you start to discover.
I was the same with the pink cloud thing. So I got sober once in 2019, and I totally pink clouded my way through the first few months of that. It was great. And then this second time around, I literally did not experience pink cloud, which is also probably why I really started growing like 3 weeks into recovery. Like I was digging in and making changes and learning about myself and actually recovering within the first few weeks this time around. Because there was no pink cloud, I wasn't just floating on cloud nine. I had to start doing some work because I knew perfectly well what was going to happen if I didn't. So I feel that for sure. And then there's the like when I quit the first time, I didn't do any growing, I didn't do any changing it. I was stuck the whole time. I had no idea what I was supposed to do because I didn't talk to anybody about it. And so then when I quit the second time, there was like this fear that if I didn't keep moving forward constantly all the time, that I was just going to relapse because that's what happened the first time. So now I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuck for like a day, you know? I'm like, shit, gotta do something, gotta do something. And I'm more calm about it now, but that like I had a really rough patch right around 1 year, and I think most people do, or I won't say most people, but I know it's really common right after a year to hit just a rough patch, just a kind of a stuck spot. And I remember kind of almost panicking, like, oh my God, if I don't figure out what to do, I'm gonna relapse.
At 14 months, that was me right
Yeah.
there. 14 months. It's just like all of the air came out of the balloons, just depressed, like the whole deal. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening to me? This is my first time ever getting sober. 3.5 years. I rode that damn pink cloud for like a good 6 or 7 months. I was just, I rode that sucker. I was good. Like I didn't let go of that unicorn. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we're getting here to the end. So, as Matt's laughing, the last thing I wrote here was interesting. Is stuck the opposite of avoiding change? It's a philosophical question. Or is it, or is stuck the opposite of accepting change? Anyway, we covered a lot of ground here. Matt, you talked about the emotional stuckness. Joanna and Katie, you guys talked a lot about like the forward progress and some of the really good things, accepting just where we're at. And that is probably one of the hardest things to do, is just being okay with being where we are today. And we don't always have to have forward momentum. Learning to be okay inside of that chaos, or not having the chaos at all. I think one of the things we all got accustomed to is a lot of change, especially in early recovery. So we get used to the change, and then when change doesn't have to happen near as frequently or as often anymore, maybe we get a sense of feeling stuck, when in actuality, we're just living life.
Right.
So I want to say thank you, Katie. Thank you, Johanna. And thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your thoughts and experiences. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
guys.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks to our listeners. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and or follow through the Glass Recovery Podcast, or even better, leave us a review. It helps so much. We'll see you next week with an episode about self-sabotage.